Welcome to the Rival Fantasy community. I appreciate you guys for joining me. I am Neil Maligno, your host, and you are tuned into our quick hitting, not so obvious locks of the week. These are my wild card players who are not ranked inside my top 10, but have the upside to finish there. And this is for week 2. Let's jump straight into quarterbacks. At quarterback, we have Baker Mayfield. He takes on the Chicago Bears, who last week helped Jordan Love finish as a top 3 quarterback in fantasy points. Baker played well himself in week 1 as he found his groove versus the Vikings. So a weak Chicago defense really gives him top 10 upside, in my opinion, in week 2. Now, every week, Baker has an elite duo at wide receiver, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. So love him or hate him, Mayfield gets it his all week in and week out. And honestly, he's a dog on the field every Sunday. Running back, we have Jamal Williams, who is holding down the Saints backfield while Alvin Kamara is suspended. And while last week was a tough game, this week he's facing off versus the Carolina Panthers. You're asking, what does that mean, Neil? Why do I care? You should care because he's facing a defense that allowed the Atlanta Falcons to have two running backs finish inside the top 10 at points and running back in week 1. Now, they had 2 touchdowns on the ground, 1 through the air. This is starting to feel like Jamal Williams might have a multiple touchdown game, which if we recall back to last year in Detroit, he had 6 games with 2 touchdowns or more. Wide receiver Nico Collins quietly finished within the top 25 in scoring in week 1 with 11 targets, 6 receptions, 80 yards receiving, no touchdowns. If there was a touchdown there, it would have been beautiful. CJ Stroud and Collins need to obviously improve on converting some more of those targets into receptions because 6 out of 11, it could, we leave some to be desired there. But the matchup against the Colts might be exactly what they need to make that happen. We know that Jaguars wide receivers Calvin Ridley and Zay Jones both ate in week 1 versus the Colts secondary. So there's no doubt that the Texans are going to look to exploit those same weaknesses in this Colts defense. I'm a big fan of what CJ Stroud and Nico Collins are building right now in Houston and what they're trying to accomplish together. I think week 2, not so obvious lock of the week. Throw Nico Collins in there. And lastly, at tight end, we have Luke Musgrave. He flashed in week 1. They were taking shots down the field. I love what I've seen. Him and Jordan Love are clearly capable of doing some good things this season. Although all the plays didn't pan out exactly how we wanted them to, Love and Musgrave proved that, they've been working out this offseason together and it's starting to pay off. Love is going to rely on his group of young, talented playmakers. We think Romeo Doubs, Christian Watson. Luke Musgrave is clearly a part of that, a big plan for this offense. Last week, Panthers tight end Hayden Hurst actually finished number 2 in points scored for tight ends. And this week, Musgrave is going up against that exact same defense that Hurst did. Look for the Packers and Love to get the same production or more out of Musgrave versus those Falcons. That's it for our quick hitting episode of the Not So Obvious Locks of Week 2. If you do want more fantasy football content from Rival Fantasy Sports, what I would tell you now is to go ahead and hit that subscribe button because we have plenty of content every week for you. We have live shows, especially our favorite, which is the Sunday show at 12 p.m. noon EST, right before kickoff. An hour before kickoff, we will answer your questions, start sits. If you have questions for next week, for week 3, or whatever week you're in that week, we'll also answer those questions, whether it's trades, waivers, whatever it is. Subscribe on YouTube. If you prefer audio only, you can also subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Of course, those won't be live, but you'll catch them after the fact. You can also follow us on social for all the latest Rival Fantasy Sports updates, promos, the latest news in sports. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Rival Fantasy on all 3 platforms. And of course, most importantly, go ahead and log into rivalfantasy.com or download the Rival Fantasy app. You can get on there. It's not too late to start season-long leagues. If you don't like how your other leagues are going and you want to kind of start fresh, the Aaron Rodgers injury happened, all these things are happening, you can still create leagues right now on rivalfantasy.com or again on the Rival Fantasy Sports app. We also have Rival Challenges. We have Rival Fantasy Bingo. Plenty of ways for you to get involved while you're watching the games. Have a little extra fun. Do it with your family, your friends, your coworkers, people online. Go check out rivalfantasy.com or again, download the app Rival Fantasy Sports in your app store today. That is it for today, guys. I'm out.